Watching Filter is like someone took a giant gong and kept incessantly banging it over your head while you're trying to sleep. That's what it feels like. Hi, this is Juniper.
Hello, this is Elle.
Welcome to our pod. Today we're gonna talk about our thoughts after checking out a show that we actually both eagerly looked forward to. I would say at some point based on the previews, but now I think our sentiments have drastically changed after watching what both of us have watched 7 episodes or almost 7 episodes of this show.
Yeah.
So the show we're going to talk about today is called Filter. In Chinese, it's 滤镜, which is starring 檀健次 and Landi Li Landi, among others. All right, so I checked it out first. At some point, I abandoned ship, and I think I was angry texting you a lot, Elle. Well,
Yes.
frustration texting you. You made it. You were much more tolerant, so you just made it to episode 7. But I sense you're about to give up too on this show.
Yes. Yeah, so we were eagerly awaiting this because we have gushed over Tangensu in the past. Like we liked him in other things. We liked him.
檀健次, right? Like as Xianggo and some of the other shows, even nonsensical stuff like Love Me, Love My Voice.
Yes. Or Go East. He was very funny in Go East. So
yes.
We've seen him in other things. We liked him in other things. And his stardom is flying in China right now. He's doing very well. With concerts, holding concerts and acting in many things. So we were looking forward to this quick, and we also like Landi Li. We saw her last saw her in Starry Love, which was probably the only thing I've ever seen her in. She's been in other things, but I didn't check those other projects out. But yeah, this pairing seemed very, there was potential there. So let's talk briefly about the stories, and then we can talk about where it went wrong for us as viewers. But so at a very high level, Tangenci and Landy Li they were both, I guess, in the same high school, but she's, I think, a year younger than him, and she had a crush on him, and she has a strange character trait where she's very strong, like super strong, like superhuman strength.
She's kind of like rough and like rough around the edges. Everyone keeps saying how she's not pretty, which is, by the way, the first annoyance factor, right? Because I look at Landy Li, I'm like, how can you tell me this girl's not pretty?
Yes, so she's supposed to be not attractive, right? Like she's supposed to be sort of plain Jane, I think. Like not ugly, but plain Jane. And so in the present day, she has not seen him since, I guess, they graduated, and they end up at is it middle school or high school reunion?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know if I even want to like waste how much on plot, because it's not even about the plot. What plot?
Okay, but we gotta set it up because
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be somewhat frustrated throughout this talk because the show frustrated so much. Anyways,
okay, I will try to make this quick. So, anyways, at the reunion, they meet again, and in the setup to the reunion, they show both of the perspectives of the same situation when they had crossed paths in their youth, and then and so when you get to the point where they actually do meet up, there's a big misunderstanding, and he's kind of rude to her, and she becomes very angry. So she leaves the reunion, and then she's in this sort of pitiful state, and she runs into this old lady with some flower shop, and she's like, I'll buy all the flowers, and the old lady gifts her this bangle, and she's like, oh, it's free, so she gave it to her. And so the bangle has magical powers. So whereas, she had superhuman strength before, where, she was like the strongest in her school. So that's what she was known for. But now this bangle has these magical powers. And the bangle basically is like a real life filter. Like if you have a filter on your phone where
it
you play
changes
with
her appearance.
yes. So
Or
the
not even just
bangle
appearance as a person. She can turn into objects and stuff, right? It
yes,
upgrades itself.
yes,
So that's
yes,
the point of calling it filter.
yes. And so she becomes this gorgeous woman. And the next time they meet, he meets her as the gorgeous woman. He falls in love with her. It's like love at first sight kind of thing, even though he says it's not love at first sight. But so now she has two identities, and she happens to have gotten a job at his company. So he has a startup selling manufacturing
Right.
cosmetics, and so she got a job there through her sister, and well, not through her sister, but her sister helped her
It
get the
doesn't
job.
matter, right?
Whatever. So
Basically, she's playing two
basically,
characters, trying to juggle it because he needs the pretty version of her for a ad. He's obsessed with her, but he hates the real version of her because he thinks she's lazy and rude and mean and was a bully to him, basically. That's the real premise. So it's supposed
yes.
to be playing off of the awkwardness and the shenanigans of her trying to juggle and him dealing with kind of hot and coldness from even the
Mm-hmm.
pretty version of her, whatever persona she takes on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many misunderstandings and misperceptions, and that's really the whole premise.
Yes. So, anyways, now we're at episode 7, where he has been pursuing her for at least the last 2 episodes, like romantically trying to pursue her, and she keeps rejecting him. Like she wants nothing to do with him. So I think where we're at, I'll speak for myself because I was trying to finish off episode 7, but I didn't have enough time. But I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't understand his desperation. Like it's not comfortable to watch okay, in the beginning they try to almost make him sound like really cool, right? Like he was like really smart in school, now he's successful. But because of the misunderstanding, he was kind of rude to her. So already you're like, okay, there better be a good turnaround to make him a likable character. But once he becomes obsessed with the pretty version of her, who by the way is played by a different actress. It's not Landy Lee playing the pretty version. There's another actress. I don't know her name, and I'll talk about her later too. But he becomes so obsessed with the pretty version, and it's almost creepy, like stalkerish to me, because he knows nothing about her. He doesn't. They don't even have conversations because she's already rejected him. Like because the real her is
she's
like
avoiding him.
Yeah, and she's very straightforward with I don't like you. I don't want you to like me.
Yes.
And it's very uncomfortable because he keeps looking for her. And I think in the beginning you're like, oh, it's kind of funny, but then at some point it's like this is not cute anymore. Like there's no meet cute at all in this. It's very like uncomfortable.
And cute. This is my biggest issue with the whole show. I don't care about the plot, right? Because if you treat it as pure comedy, which I think you're supposed to, because really it's not a rom-com at all. It's just a slapstick comedy, or it's trying to be. And if I only laughed once in the 7 episodes I told you.
Which
it was when she jumped. I'm about to tell you when she jumped off the boat and swam for her life. Right? And I was like, that was kind of funny, right? Because he's like proposing to her, not proposing, confessing. And mid confession, she's like jumped off the boat and started swimming. That was the only time I laughed. It was just the show is, as you already mentioned, uncomfortable to watch. I think you used the word once when we were texting back and forth, which I was like, that hits the nail on the head. It's so cringy. This whole show is so cringy. After you're just uncomfortable because of the secondhand embarrassment she has to suffer through because everyone's so mean. So the world is populated by assholes, basically, is what the show is telling us, right? Everyone's mean and rude and bullies her because of her looks and because how gawky she is, or supposedly gawky or awkward she is. I was like, is this supposed to reflect Chinese society? I really hope not. Like, this is not a brand. If I'm Chinese, I don't want that brand out there to represent my society. Right?
Yeah.
And you want me to believe that she's really not good looking. Like, who are you kidding, right?
Yeah.
It's just anything that they're playing for laughs it just lands so flat. I think I told you it felt so sophomoric, but in a bad way. Like there's no lightness and deftness to the comedy. It's everyone desperately trying so hard to, like, it's like, please please laugh. I'm gonna beg you to laugh now. Look at all the stupid things I'm doing to make you laugh. Haha. And you're like, what is wrong with you? Like the desperation is oozing off the screen for me when I watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's
No,
just
I agree. I agree. I mean, I think I'm like you said, I'm more tolerant. I think in the beginning I was like, okay, because you were texting me like I don't understand why this is so popular in China, right?
it's not.
And oh, I thought you said it
It's
was.
really popular with the people who like it, but I wonder how much of it is through the quote unquote filter or lens of the fan, right?
Or the
And I will
algorithm.
say this right now. I think I said this in the text to you. This has destroyed my filter, like my positive filter of 檀健次. Like I was like, I gotta stop watching this show because I'm gonna hate 檀健次if I watch this any longer. Because his
Yeah.
character is so unlikable. And I think I told you this. It's almost like, remember we watch other shows of his where I said, and I think you agreed at the time that some of his characters borders on creepy or uncomfortable
Yes.
or sleazy,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
but they never go there. In this one, he hit the nail, unfortunately, on the head. Like, bullseye, you've gone over the line. Like, there's nothing savory about this character. Like, he's not a bad guy. He's just
Yeah.
not a nice guy. And he's not even if he wasn't a bad guy or not nice guy, he's not a desirable male lead. Does that make
Mm-mm.
sense? Like, why would you
Yes.
ever want him to succeed?
Right. Yeah, he's like the way I think of him, the character, not the actor, is like like the character is like this meek nerd who I don't even think he had a glow up, but he used his, quote unquote intelligence to be successful. And now he's a boss, at his company and gets, there's a little bit of power. And I mean, he was in his comfortable little bubble until he, fell in love at first sight with the woman. So on one hand, if it had, I don't know if any other actor could have played this a little in a more savory way. That's the problem I have because in itself, like, do you want to watch? I mean, sometimes a meek guy could be cute if the woman, I think, has more like a power dynamic with him. I think here you see two meek people. like
It's like
she's not
it's like
so
metal bull playing against metal bull or wood on wood action, right? And
yeah. Yeah.
see, this is the one time I'll say this. It's not an ageism issue, but he is actually too old for this role, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're supposed to be like their mid-20s, I think. And like even I think I even texted you, like the female lead is also sort of she's not ditzy or bumbling, but somehow she gets put into these situations where she is embarrassed, and I don't understand like why she allows it. I guess like there's a lot of that where like
Why does
where's
she
her
continue
strength?
going back to the well for more, right? But like if I
Yes.
were
Yes.
always surrounded by bullies and assholes, even my own family, I'd be like, okay, I get it. I might be the loser, but I can disassociate and remove myself from this environment.
Right.
No one has
But
chained you to it. She
I
keeps
mean, she
going back for
has
more.
yeah, her own sister's kind of mean to her, at least in the beginning. Her sister was
Her
kind of like
sister is a bitch. And
yeah,
not
her
a pretty one, yet
sister
they insist she's a beauty. I'm like, really?
yeah. I mean, okay, so Landy Lee, the way they set it up as her being unattractive is that she has some acne, and I think that was it. That she doesn't wear makeup or that her clothes are baggy. I mean, that's not nothing. That's like she's very pretty. So
Suspect the show is trying to send a body positive message. Somewhere it's lost because it certainly reinforces inadvertently or advertently. Like, you know what? Who I blame first? I blame the scriptwriter because this was an original script written by the stupid author of Lost You Forever and Scarlet Heart, as you know. And
if when the
apparently
crowd,
she wanted. It's like toxic. Everything she writes is toxic. I'm telling you, makes no sense. But people just lap it up somehow. There's a subsection of the fandom out there that says, I love everything by Tonghua. I'm like, and you need to get your head checked. That's how I feel, especially after watching Filters. Like, it's like, as one of our mutual friends said, he didn't even bother to check it out because once he saw all of the clips that were available, he's like, it's like someone stupid decided this was a really neat concept because on paper the concept is very unique, right? innovative, and made a whole drama out of it when it should have been like a 10-minute sketch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was telling you that I thought it was a missed opportunity because the filter aspect. So, and you were talking about like what am I missing, right? And I had said, well, I know in general in China, like they're obsessed with beauty filters. There's many like companies that make specific beauty filters. And when I say beauty filters, it's a little different from the United States where like if you do social media, there's some filters, but then in China they have like apps are devoted
They
to
change your look completely. Like your face is totally
yeah,
distorted. I know.
and they do corporate collabs. Like you can like I've played with the filters before. You could be a McDonald's cashier. I did it with my daughter. She thought it was hilarious. Like there's many fun filters, and I think a lot of people in China when they post their photos, like regular, like they don't post candidates. Everything's done through a filter. So I thought, I think on paper, like you said, it was very appealing because the concept that a person can have, like, can do a filter in real life in the real world, like there could be so many cool things you can do with that. And I feel like conceptually it was great, but then they decided that they're going to use this under the guise of some like strange rom-com setup, and I feel like it missed the mark there because okay, so you do it that way, but then you set up two characters who are both problematic, and now you're trying to convince me like I need to see this journey through, right? Like, oh, how are they gonna overcome him when he realizes she's the same girl? Like, do we care? Probably
cares?
not. Who
No.
cares?
If I were the girl, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, like I said, I would have removed myself. Like when she's basically up to where we are, she's rejected him because she's sick of him, right? Because he's an asshole to her.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. So for her to turn around at some point, I'm assuming that's where the story's gonna go. I don't want to see that actually, right?
You don't want him to win the girl.
No, I don't. He doesn't deserve it. He's kind
Yeah.
of an inadvertent asshole regardless. He's judgmental, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somewhat mean or rude. Now, everyone keeps making excuses like, oh, they're both clueless. I'm like, yeah, but he's a little bit more intentional in his so-called cluelessness because when he thought she was like being lazy at work and stuff, right, based on hearsay and misconceptions, he was really mean to her because he already had the baggage of the childhood misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people justified that for some of his behavior and reactions to her. I'm like, you can justify the reaction, doesn't make him a good person, right? Like I can dislike a coworker because I don't like them. They're people you just don't like, right? That's fair. But then to treat them in a condescending or bullying fashion says more about you as a person, right? Than them.
Yes.
So that's how I view this. And everyone in this world other than Landy is like that. That's what's like, what does this say about Chinese society if this is... You mean like if I were China, I'd be like, do not export this out of this country.
They already did. Well, I liked his friend at work. I don't think they're best friends, but his friend, Mr. Gu. I liked
the one
him.
With the weird eyes, yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of weird. I want to see more of him because he's kind of weird, but he's really random. He's actually the straight man in this.
Yes.
But
he's the normal person.
But I think he's funny. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he's the straight man, but I actually found him funny because he's the straight man, and he doesn't pull any BS, like
right.
And then the best friend, the comic book artist, like she's a little zany, but she's also normal. So
her at the beginning, she and the female lead were the only two characters I kept watching. I was like, oh my god, there's only two likable people, but she had a bit, like you said, too zany. Like she was becoming desperate, like haha funny again. I'm just like, this is like a middle school tier C level, drama club staging of a bad farce. The lost farce of Noel Cowell, the guy who used to write all those famous farces, stage farces in the 1920s and 30s. And you're like, please put it back in the dustbin. Do not dust this script off and do it. Tonghua is at fault here, first of all, and Dan健do not take on roles like this anymore, please.
Yeah. I mean, I think he thought this would be a fun show because, like I said, I think on paper there was something very new, sort of new, right? Different. but the issue I have is like if I have a filter with unlimited like imagery that I can transpose, like why is it always the other actress, right? Like why is it the Sumio, I think is the character name. Like why is it always her, not like another person? And I think you said that they'll do that in the future,
Yes.
but I think like I don't know how long this is. This is like a 30 episode
something
drama.
like that. 30
like
something.
I mean, she's already in the bulk of it, and you actually complained that you weren't seeing enough of Landy because the other actress, actually, I felt had more screen time than the main girl.
I wanted to see Landy, actually. I like Landy. I still do like Landy. I have no issues with her in the show per se, other than why did you take this role? It's so thankless. Does nothing for you, and you're barely in it.
Yeah. I will say out of this, the woman that plays the pretty version,
I don't
like
get that either. I don't find her attractive.
Oh, she's model pretty. She is. I would say she's the typical. No,
not for me. I know for Chinese tastes.
Yeah, like she would be a person you would see in a Chinese magazine. Totally. I know nothing about her, but I have to say, when I watch her, I actually don't. Actually liked her acting as Landy. Even like I can imagine that she has Landy in her. Like that to me was easier to watch. Like remember I was complaining about In Blossom, where the girl with the disfigured face, she was in the first. Well, she was the first 2 episodes, and I thought she was the main lead, but then they, she had the body swap, and then the real main actress played the character, and like people were like, oh, did they even talk to each other about how, like, because it's supposed to be the same person? I feel like here I can buy it because then they also try to transpose Landy in certain scenes to remind you that she's there, even if the person can't see her. But anyways, I would say out of this, I enjoyed the second actress. I think she had a lot to carry because I don't know who she is. I don't know if she's already done other things, but she had to do so many scenes with the male lead. But at some point, I would think she's gonna disappear, like when they resolve this problem. So,
online clips of where there are already other 2 more permanent characters that are alter egos. One of which is 治水风龙, the guy. I told you, right? And there's so many stupid "Lost You Forever" references in this show. It's kind of like, why?
Because Tonghua.
Yeah, that's why. And Tan Jianci, even when he's crying over her rejection of him, they play Xiang Lu's theme song. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh.
When he's drinking and eating by himself, all the stuff he doesn't like to eat, but he had eaten with her.
Oh, is that what the song was? It was like, it sounds really. I recognized it, but I didn't. It didn't occur to me that was his theme song.
It's his theme song from Lost You Forever.
Oh, okay.
And of course, 治水风龙 is gonna come out. I mean, I'm almost tempted to check out that part because I actually like the actor who plays.
Yeah, you like him. Yeah.
And I want to see that, but I'm like, no, because I kept watching the show and then stopping, going, I can't stand it anymore. But then kept trying to go back, as you know, to give it more of a chance, right? But every time I went back, I'm like sucker punching myself, going, what the heck? Like, why did I put myself through this again? Like, because it was just such a turnoff. And I have to say, you can tell from the way I'm talking about it. Like, I literally have a visceral reaction to the show after having watched 7 episodes. I mean, and I'm sure we'll get lots of people going, well, you didn't understand the humor. Sure. I think the humor is for 8-year-olds. Like, there are people who love SpongeBob, right? SquarePants. I'm not one of them.
I think this type. Okay, to be fair, I would say this type of execution is probably not common in Chinese entertainment. I mean, maybe in the old days, in the old Hong Kong movies, like you said, you were saying Tan Jianci is not Stephen Chow, and I would agree. Like he's not Stephen.
They don't have the finesse, right?
No,
it's a very fine line. That's why I say it's like a bad farce. There's good farces where everything hits the paces correctly, and there's deftness and lightness, right? There's whimsy. This is leaden-footed whimsy, as I call it. They're going for whimsy, but it's like full of lead, and you're like, oh. She's just stomping around.
Yeah. I blame the characters. I blame I blame how the characters were written. I don't blame the actors so much. I know you feel like Yusa Tajensu is not like this broke it for you, like your impression of him. I think the way they were written were uh were too flawed. Like too flawed for you to root for, if that makes sense. Like
the direction too, right? The
yeah.
director technically, it depends on how it was directed. Sometimes the director is the auteur, like the composition that you see on screen, right? They're
Mhm.
the overall auteur of that. So who knows? But
Yeah.
all I can say is I don't think it was not a good use of my time watching even 7 episodes of this. And it broke my filter of 檀健次. I heart Landi still. I don't know if I heart 檀健次 after this. Like I need a reset. Does that make sense? Like if he's
Yeah.
gonna keep playing, he has another rom-com that hasn't been released with what's her name wants to run. But if it's gonna be this level of
Oh, that's right. That's
freneticness,
right. Yeah.
I'd be very worried. I don't think it is, thank God. You know?
Yeah. No, I think the problem here is that he was playing this meek character that was not charismatic and therefore not worth. You don't want, like you said, you don't want him to win the girl. So if that's the case, there's no point watching it, you know?
You don't even want to associate with someone like him.
Yeah, I mean, it would take a lot to turn it around, I think. Like, so, I'm at the part where, spoiler, like, she's trying to. Okay, this was so stupid. I'm so stupid when I say it out loud. So, in episode 7, after rejecting him very many times and he's not taking no for an answer, she devises this plot where she's gonna try to die in front of him as Sumia, as the fake filter girl.
Yes,
And I was
my
like, this
last
is
straw.
this is so ridiculous. And it's not just one. Like she had several backup death, scenes or death, like causes of death, to rely on. And I'm like, this is sad. This, I was like, this is so sad that. Like, why? Who thought this was fun to watch? Because
Right.
obviously, this is the worst plot, like worst plan ever. And like her friend and her sister are like hiding in the reeds, watching this through binoculars. And you're like, this is not. This is crazy. This is
Like
weird.
all these people should just be like rounded up and locked into an insane asylum because they need treatment. Is what I think when I watch this, right?
Yeah, like you could just ghost him. Like, why do you have to fake like multiple ways of dying? Through spider
Because
poison
they want to
bites.
enact out all the ridiculous situations and they think it's visually funny, which is the
Yeah.
irony here. Because it's not, right?
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
as our mutual friend said, he's like, oh, I think this show's for people who enjoy watching crash and burn videos on TikTok and laugh at the. I'm like, yes, I know there's an audience for that, but those are not funny either, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, that's where we're at today, and I might still at least finish the episode because I'm in the middle of the
Because
episode.
you're a sucker for pain.
I mean, I mean the the part about the filter, that part is, it's already old news. So I'm like, okay, I'm past that now. So I'm like, all right, there's really not much else that's as enticing. But like you said, maybe just to the part to see Feng Long, but the actor that plays Feng Long. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're both also watching this other show that we'll talk about another time. But that one is like the opposite of this.
Threw me back into the arms of the other show decidedly.
Should we
oh my
name
god.
should we name the other show?
Well, it's First Frost, right? And
Yeah.
First Frost, I say, went the other way, which was it started off. I was like, and I'm willing to suspend all criticism and disbelief logic lens, right, to enjoy that show. Like I said, because when it hits right, it hits right.
Yeah.
There's nothing
It's a
hitting
mood.
anywhere near right with filter. That's the problem.
Yeah, so we were watching both of these shows. You're like, the contrast is huge.
I know. I'm like, watching filter is like someone took a giant gong and kept incessantly banging it over your head while you're trying to sleep. That's what it feels like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I think if I were to keep going. I would finish the episode just to see where it ends, and then probably go back into the embrace of First Frost. I'm not at the same length at First Frost. I'm also at episode 7. So it's like toe to toe. Like you can totally see which couple has real chemistry and which couple is just not. It's not hitting me in the right way. So
chemistry. I'm not, like I said, I didn't even like critique, filter, or evaluate it as a rom-com because I realized very quickly this is really not meant to be a rom-com. It's meant to be an out and out, somehow unique improv comedy made into a drama. But there's good and bad improv comedy, right? It's like, you remember when we were kids, we used to watch Whose Line Is It Anyways, where they literally had to improv things out of a hat, right? And some of those skits would land very flat. This is all of the flat skits. Some of them were brilliant, right? They were hilarious on the spot. When they, like I said, when it hits right, it hits right. There was no hitting right. It's like someone collected the worst fall flat reels from Whose Line Is It Anyways and said, let's make a drama out of it.
Yeah. I mean, look, we don't have to go even look that far, right? Look at Poison Love. Like I was telling you, like that premise is ridiculous, but I'm laughing and I genuinely was having fun watching it. Like you don't have that, like, and this is obviously
the inverse. Looks good on paper, concept, like maybe it'll work, and put the budget behind it, and then put it all together, and you're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, this one had budget. You can tell this is a higher budget show. It had, recognizable names in the lead roles, and I don't know what happened. It's actually very disappointing because we were actually looking forward to this. Well, Landy is actually gonna be with
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to that because I don't see. It's from the same production company that did Moonlight Mystique. I think that's why I'm excited. And it can't be worse than this. Is all I can.
I mean, it would be like it's like a triangle, like they all meet. So we get the Elrupang with Landy next. So I'm looking forward to that one. We'll have to move on from this one. Did you want to rate it based on the 7 episodes
we watched? It would be unfair, but if I were just to rate it based on the 7 episodes, it would be like a 5, maybe 5 out of 10, and that's being somewhat generous. Because again, I'm not even picking issues with technical. It's, to me, you know how I rate based on enjoyability too, very much, right? There's the objective rating I gave, like I did with Moonlight Mystique. I gave 2 ratings, but as an audience member, if it's not entertaining, and in fact it's the opposite of entertaining, where I said someone's banging a giant gong incessantly above my head, that is torture. Watching the show was like torture for me at some point. So 5 or 5.5 is generous, okay? So
yeah, I was thinking 5.6 is where I was landing.
Well, you're slightly bored. You edged me out in generosity.
Yeah, I mean, I try to watch it with a really open mind. I actually was trying really hard to like not be critical in the early 3 to 4 episodes, but now, this whole beach scene killed it. Like even the boat, her jumping out of the boat, was hilarious and then creepy because he came after her in the ocean or whatever. Like got to her friend's apartment.
Cockroach you can't get rid of.
Yes, you're like, oh my god, it's so creepy. It's like the Terminator. Like he doesn't stop, and like
I would describe no way to get rid of him as cockroachy, right? Kind of.
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, like you couldn't get rid of him.
If you're Dan健fan, do not be offended because I like Dan健, but like I said, this show is ruining my filter, my positive feels for Dan健. So like, do not take more roles like this, please.
Yeah, it's the character we have a problem with, not the actor. So yeah. Well,
maybe he wanted to play a very unlikable, unsavory person.
Well, no, there's other ways around. Other ways to do that. Yeah, it'd still be liked, actually. Like, there's many types of characters you can play.
Stop trying so hard to make us dislike you. Stop. Just stop it.
All right. That's all I have for
All right.
today. I mean, we could
Well,
belabor this, but that's about it.
No, let's not belabor it. Like the show is already belaboring it too much. As so, please, let's just like what's spare me, just spare everyone.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Well, with
On
that
that
said,
note,
yes.
until next time.
Maybe if we make it.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.